Hi, Erica.
Hi, Milena.
Thank you so much for taking the time and joining me today so we can talk about movement and workouts and getting stressed or not getting stressed from our workouts. I really
Yeah, I'm
appreciate,
excited.
I really
Yeah.
value everything that you do, and I know you fit really well with the Unhustle mindset. And I know you have a really big following for a good reason. So today I wanted just to kind of pick your brain and talk about, are we adding stress to our life by working out?
Yeah, it's a great question. I love talking about this because over the years, I have brought awareness to so many people that they are actually over exercising. And sometimes it doesn't take a lot to actually be tipping your body into that realm of what might be considered over exercising. So we have to look at our exercise, our workouts, our movement practice, whatever it is it energizing your body and making you feel better and leaving you feeling better after your workout, or is it actually leaving you feeling more depleted afterwards? Because if and it's kind of a twofold of like looking at your entire life, like what's going on in life. Like if you are in a situation in life right now or a phase of life where like you're really stressed, there's a lot of things going on, and exercise in some aspects may seem like it's actually a way for you to get rid of your stress, right? And maybe it is, but if we're pushing it too hard and you already got a lot of stress in your body, and then we're really stressing our body with, say doing high intensity exercise or just going and running, and we're not really listening to our body, it could actually be increasing your stress. And so it all comes back to like our cortisol levels in our body when we start talking hormones. And so people that can tend to, even if you already feel really, really tired, maybe you don't even have enough cortisol in your body because you've been stressed for a really long time in life. And can we clarify what stress is a little bit, Milena? Because I find
Definitely.
that this has been something, I love kind of getting into the hormone stuff. We won't go too deep in it, but I think understanding like cortisol in the body can be very, very helpful for people. Because I think with all this, like we all are so stressed, and so many of us don't actually recognize that we have how stressed we are, because your body's almost become conditioned to it. It might be like all these like low-lying stressors over the years that have just compounded one right after the other, and you kind of learned how to compensate for it. And maybe it's lots of coffee, maybe it's other caffeine sources, maybe it's having a couple glasses of wine at night, and then we're adding these types of things into our life, and then we're exercising a lot, or the opposite of doing nothing, right? That's not necessarily good either. But then you can kind of get your body into this, like things start to go haywire. And what happens is initially, like when we're in the a stress state, our cortisol levels will rise, right? So when people talk about like, oh, my cortisol levels are high, which is not good, right? Because that can really cause and wreak havoc into the body. And so if your cortisol levels are really high, you really need to be careful that you're not over exercising, because it could really, really, really be depleting such things as like your adrenals. And adrenals don't function on their own. They are, there's so many contributing factors that affect our adrenals. So many people, women and men, but in particular, I hear this from so many women, myself included, been there with the whole, diagnosis like adrenal fatigue. Well, some of that comes from then once our cortisol levels have been up for a really, really long time, do you know what happens? Our cortisol levels will actually drop. And you can actually not even be making enough cortisol, which can leave you in that kind of adrenal fatigue, exhausted. And so it might be even really hard for you to work out. So then doing more restorative type exercises could actually be really, really good for you. And we have this mentality in society of like, go big or go home, right? I have so many of these conversations because it's that whole thing of like, if you are someone who, feels exhausted all the time, but then you're like, I just have to get my workout in. And maybe you just force yourself, right? And you just go hard because maybe it gives you a little bit of that adrenaline rush initially, but then you kind of crash later, right?
Right.
That's a sign that's too much for your body, right? So doing something, this is where like things like meditation, honestly, where you're not even moving, can be so restorative for someone, because we're internally driving our stress down. with that.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
yoga, I love teaching Pilates, and a lot of what I teach is really a lot of restorative movement, getting people back on their feet to eventually be able to do their more, quote, normal workouts that they want to be doing, or they were doing, but either they were causing more stress on their body, whether it was more of just the actual stress level in the body, the cortisol, all that stuff's kind of like haywire, adrenals, exhausted, that. But also their body starts yelling at them and saying, oh, my back hurts, my knees hurt, my neck hurts, I have pelvic floor dysfunction, like whatever it might be, those things start to creep in, and people don't listen to those signs until a lot of times you're forced to stop doing your workouts, which can add another stress to your life, right?
Right. And you absolutely, you're so spot on. I mean, you're basically talking about my life, and it's exactly what happened to me. So, but it's a really hard thing to do when you're in that mindset of go, 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 work, 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 go crush it at work, and then you want to go crush it in the gym. It's really hard for a lot of like entrepreneurs and executives and just type A personalities, which is a lot of people who are, following Unhustle. It's hard to have that perspective shift. I know it took me years, and exactly what you're talking about happened to me. So I would, wake up early in the morning and hit the gym, and I'm not a morning person, so I wasn't even half awake or in optimal state of mind to really work out. And then I would, get done with my workout, and sure, you feel a little bit better at the beginning, but then my energy would just crash through the day, and I'll just feel completely depleted. My adrenals were exhausted, and I just kept doing it over and over and over again. Diagnosed with like, well, you have a thyroid issue now, so you have to take pills. And I'm like, well, I live really healthy. I like eat really healthy. So I thought I was doing everything right, and honestly, what got me to stop working out so hard was actually an issue with my psoas muscle. And so I actually had to do physical therapy every day, but it was a very slow type therapy. So it was, just doing like a lot of core stuff, probably a lot of core stuff that you teach, but in a very slow pace. And I remember just being bored to tears with that. I would go to the gym and I would just be like, I have to do these exercises, and I just wanted to get, sweat going, and I wanted to like do this hardcore workout. But now I had to sit there and like lift literally like my hip, like move it by a few centimeters each way. And it was painful. Now, 9 months later, it fixed my issue. But it also, what it did, Erica, is and that's, I'm gonna bet that's probably what you're teaching. I had the strongest core ever. I had, it's because it's all with the pelvic floor, everything where it's so connected, where everything's connected in your body. But yeah, I had the strongest pelvic floor. I had like abs that I was never able to get from crushing in the gym and doing sit-ups. And I hadn't done one sit-up in 9 months. And it was all these little, just tiny little movements that did all that work. And that, when I saw the results from this, it actually made me realize that it's not all about crushing it.
Absolutely. Yes. And I hear it all the time. And the hardest part with this is that it's that initial phase. Like you were saying, like you were bored. I hear that, even with what I'm teaching, and I get women that come into my programs because for some of them, it's kind of their last resort. They've tried a lot of other things. Or there's women that just like, they want to really like go out and run, but they know every time they run, like their body hurts, or they deal with the incontinence. And I have to tell them over and over again, you have to trust the process. You have to pull it back. We have to really, essentially, it's like rehabilitating the body, learning how to connect with our body in a way that honestly you've never been taught, right? No one has ever taken the time in your life to ever really teach you how to connect with your core, how to truly, really move your body, how to, how your posture should really be. And we get so many, and there's so many like myths out there of a lot of these things that I teach, and you've experienced some of them. And what happens though is when you do take that step back and you finally allow your mind to like chill the heck out too, right? It's our body, but it's also up here. And I've been talking a lot more about this whole, like, yes, it's like mind-body connection, but it's actually like what is happening in our brain. And so that initial phase, when you make yourself have to slow down, or if anyone's listening and you've had to stop working out completely, like, I don't necessarily love people stopping moving either, because just stopping and doing no movement, where does that get you, right? We have to find this middle ground. And that's where I want to, like, teach and empower people, like, hey, even if you're not able to do a lot, whatever you can do, we have to start to add visualization into our life. We have to start approaching things with an open mind. And that means you getting out of your own stinking way. So when you think this is boring because I'm doing this, and maybe it's a little uncomfortable or painful and I'm barely moving and I just want to get back to my running or whatever it is, you have to keep telling yourself, look, this happened to me for a reason. So a couple things. One, I can either decide to, like, fight my body on it and it's going to take me longer to get through it and I may never heal it. Or I can decide to embrace this journey and this sucky thing that I'm dealing with right now and be open to what am I supposed to be learning about my body, right? And start to visualize in your life what you do want for your body, instead of that constant loop in your brain of this sucks, like, or whatever it is, this hurts and all that kind of stuff. And really, I'm doing more and more of, with this, like, what's actually happening to your brain when you're learning these new little precise movements and how to connect and how to breathe better. Because what you're actually doing is we're actually, creating new pathways in the brain. And we think of habits, right? And I just think this is so powerful to mention this so we can really understand that, like, okay, the reason why we stand a certain way or we move a certain way or we run a certain way, the biomechanics of our movement, some people could say it's genetics, and it is to a degree, but you can change it. I've helped so many people change things, even if, like, they walk or have whatever it is exactly like their mom, like, it can be changed because it all has to do with soft tissue and fascia and patterns of movement. And you move a certain way because that's how you learned and it's wired in your brain. But the cool thing is we can change any of those habits. But that first step is you have to be aware of what it is you need to even change in the first place. You have to then know how to change it, and you have to be open to doing it and stop fighting your body on it. Because I get a lot of this in the beginning. Women, men too, when you finally can get over that initial, like, stop fighting it and just let things be. And, like, okay, this is happening to me for a reason. As crappy as you're like, I don't know why this is happening to me. Like, stop saying that and just be like, why is this happening to me? And try to be open to see what you can learn, whether it's about your body, about the brain, mind, body connection, about your life even. Because when you start to do that and don't force an answer right away, just start to be with it, you'll probably be blown away what comes up for you. And again, it may not come up right away, but it will come up in time. And you know what an awesome byproduct of doing this is? Your stress goes down, because now all of a sudden you fighting your body was a stressor, not your only stressor, I'm sure, but it is a stressor. So if you can work on that one stressor to get out of your way, and because it's in your way of that process or your progress, and you start running a more healthy loop in your brain, because little side note, I know Joe Dispenza talks a lot about this. This stuff's great, where it's like the brain doesn't know reality from not reality. So this is where, like, the brain, the visualization, and I find this all the time when my students, and I teach a lot of visualization because I'm really big on cueing. I talk a lot. And everyone's always like, after they've watched a video multiple times, they're like, your voice is in my head. I'm like, I'm sorry. But the thing is when you really listen to those words that I teach, where you're learning to connect, you're learning to breathe and lengthen and whatever it might be, instead of just, like, going through the motions, but we're actually in our brain visualizing what we want to happen, even if you don't feel it. Even if you don't feel it, again, it's like that trusting of the process. Those connections, that healing, whatever it is that needs to happen for your body, it will happen faster. It's amazing.
I absolutely believe you, because it absolutely happened to me. I mean, the very first time I tried to do Tai Chi, I was like, oh, just kill me now. Like, I can't move that slow. And that's because exactly I was going fast all the time. My body, my mind, my brain needed to slow down. I just wasn't realizing it. When I did, actually, I lost weight and I felt better and I looked better by doing less.
Yeah.
And it's complete.
And that's a byproduct, because I don't teach weight loss. I rarely even address it, because, the reason why someone's hanging on to weight is there's so many factors. And if we can work to connect the mind and the body better, we start to improve how we move, so it's more productive for our body. And we start to get things moving better and more effectively. If there's weight to be lost, it will really come off for so many people. And like you said, I just interviewed a gal the other day that did one of my programs. She was like, Erica, I want to share my story. And she was just like blown away that, again, coming from someone who used to do really high intensity, hard workouts. And she's like, Erica, I have more definition now. I mean, besides obviously feeling better and all these things that were improving in her body, she's like, it's just all these physical things that just was like an added bonus for her. She finally got herself mentally to a place where she wasn't so fixated on the physical aspect. Right. And then lo and behold, because she stopped fighting it and trying things and actually turned inward to her body, all these healing things started happening. And then as an awesome byproduct, the physical aspect happened. But we can get so fixated on what's happening to the physical, how our abs look and our arms and our butt and like all that. And again, it's that whole thing of like, we have to turn inward to our body and like, what is our body telling us? And, because so many times you go into the gym and getting on that treadmill and just that hamster wheel and go, 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 and you're not really connecting with your body. You're just adding stress to your body. You were just adding stress. That whole calories in, calorie out thing doesn't work anymore because of our crap food, number one, and because of the just hamster wheel we get on with having to beat our bodies up. You beat your body up and boom, that stress just keeps going up, and you're just really messing with your cortisol and cortisol levels in the body and your adrenal function. And I know I kind of hit on this, but I just want to really clarify this. Like, I've been doing more and more adrenal research. So when people get classified with adrenal fatigue, it's not necessarily always your adrenal. It's your stress that has affected your HPA axis in your brain that then is what's wearing down or causing your adrenals to not function like they need to. So if we start getting stress out first, we can actually start to improve our adrenal function.
Right. And all that makes sense. Yeah. So how would somebody, we talked about cortisol levels, but how would somebody find out what their cortisol levels are?
Oh, great question. Okay. So I'll talk about really quickly my favorite. It's a newer test, and I wish I had it years ago. I've been testing my cortisol levels for like the last 15 plus years. But there's a new test out called the Dutch test. Are you familiar with it?
I just did that. I think I just did that this summer.
Yeah. So it's a urine test. They also have an addition where you can do the saliva part of it. Usually if you're going to just do a cortisol test, it's usually a saliva spit test.
That's what I did, a saliva test.
Yeah. So you can just do that. I do like the Dutch test because it shows your cortisol levels and like your free cortisol and how your total. So it shows you like what your body's making and what you're metabolizing, because just knowing like what you're making is only a part of the picture, because you want to understand, like, you might have high levels of cortisol in your body, and if you're not actually metabolizing it out, it can cause your body to stop creating cortisol. Because you're not actually metabolizing it. And if you're metabolizing it too quickly, then your body may seem like it's really low because you're not making enough. So it's like kind of having more pictures, and it goes into more like hormone pathways and stuff. And like where testing's going is definitely understanding pathways and how we're metabolizing hormones, not just what our levels are, especially for women. I know men, I haven't ever looked at men's tests, but I've done this multiple times myself with some things that I have dealt with the last couple of years, but I've looked at many other women's tests and learning all about this Dutch test. It's really quite fascinating what you can learn from it. But it can really shed some light on, like if it looks like your estrogen's really low, well, maybe it is and maybe it isn't. Like there's so many other things that go on with the body and pathways. And again, it's this whole, like, my overlying message is always like everything's connected in the body. So we can't ever look at just one thing and be like, oh, it's that one thing. It's usually not that, except for stress. Stress might be one of those. And again, it's usually never just stress, but stress can be a big piece that can cause a lot of trickle down to so much. And I know it can be it can kind of be easy to discount, like, oh, I'm not stressed, but it'd be interesting when you do like a test, like the Dutch test. And when that test results come back, it will tell you, you have to have someone decipher it unless you're going to go spend the oodles of hours to learn it, like I have. But it can really tell, a functional med doctor that is familiar with the test, like, is your body acting as though it's been stressed for a long time? That's where I kind of started at the beginning of so many times we don't realize how stressed we've been. That was one of mine. And I was like, whoa, I don't feel stressed. But I also have 3 kids. Right. So I think, it was just a lot of things. And maybe my body's just one of those. It gets that low lying stress a little bit easier. So again, there's so many things that can kind of come into factor, but again, kind of tying back into the workouts can really be depleting so many people. And I'm not saying not to work out. It's really just listening to your body, be smart about it. Don't be afraid of doing restorative workouts, because that actually what can get people the best results.
Right. And so I think that's a big point that you made, that people may think they're not stressed out. They're like, well, I don't feel stressed out. This is just how I am. It's a different case if you're saying, oh, I'm really stressed out. But then So for the people who are, maybe I'm not feeling stressed out, this is just the status quo, maybe that test would be really good to give them an idea as to where they stand. Because if you already know you're stressed out, the test is just going to confirm it, right? So from your perspective, for the people who want to live in an optimal state, physically and mentally, but of course don't have that much time, what would you recommend that people can do in like the least amount of time and get the most benefits?
Yeah, so I love teaching things in about, like, I would say 10 minutes. Even if you have 10 minutes in a day to do a movement practice, can be amazing. And what I love to teach is people how to really connect with their body, connect their deep core. So your core is on for your day. And I'm not talking about doing crunches and things like that. And then learning how to carry your body and how to move with purpose throughout your day, and how to really have, as ideal posture as possible when you're sitting, when you're standing, when you're carrying things, like those types of things. Like, we're weaving it into our day, because with everything that I teach so much education as well as like the actual movements and the workouts and things I want to do, because I get it. Everyone's busy. And so you can carve out an hour every day to work out, but you might actually find you get better results when you do less and you do like a 10 or a 20-minute workout, because you're really focused. Again, don't be on the treadmill reading a book and just going on the hamster wheel, because it might actually be working against you. You're really better off to do a focused 10 or 20-minute session, if you can, in the first part of your day, just because it will remind your body to connect better as you go through the rest of your day. Do it in the middle of the day or something like that. But again, get it in when you can. If it means you do it before bed, you do it before bed, right? But ideally in the earlier part of your day, just because it will turn on that deep core. It'll remind you to lengthen and be connected and strong as you go throughout the rest of your day. And you can break it up and do 10-minute first part of your day, 10-minute in the middle of the day. That can be great, just to kind of get some energy flowing through your body. There's so much stuff out there about, the high intensity interval training can be the best because it's, quick and then you're over it and all of that. And I think that is a very individualized thing. I think if you're a very stressed individual, I think if it leaves you feeling depleted, then you should not be doing those right now. It doesn't mean you can't work your body up to that eventually. If it makes you feel amazing doing HIIT training, that's great. I don't think you should do it every single day. I think you should intermix it with some more restorative movements. And then I think it's great to get out in nature. There'll be, I was just listening to something the other day where they were talking about adrenal function and exercise a little bit. And, they were saying like going like the really long, long cardio is not the best thing for optimal adrenal functions unless you're outside in nature and you're getting that restorative effect of what you're getting from nature, because being out in the trees, actually, like, they can actually shift hormones a little bit.
You're doing actually forest medicine with the trees, and that's a whole different story. But well, good. So I'm doing it all right. Yay! But I didn't used to be that way. Yeah, I mean, I used to have to spend an hour and 15, an hour and a half at the gym, and just completely do the typical stock standard 45 minutes of cardio and do some strength training. And I don't do it anymore. I do basically what you're talking about. I'll do some gentle movement in the morning, and then I actually had a reminder pop in when we were on the call to like, okay, it's time to go to the gym. And I, by going to the gym, it's literally like 10 to 20 minutes of doing something, and I break it out throughout my day. And so today, instead of going to the gym, I'm just going to take the dog out and take the snowshoes out and go out in nature and, go for a walk. And I think that works really well for me. But honestly, Erica, I didn't used to be that person. I mean, like 10 years ago, I was like, unless I get my workout in the gym, it doesn't count.
Yeah. And that's a lot of people. And, it's this whole going back to, wherever you are today is where you are, right? We can't beat ourselves up for, anything we've done or haven't done. It's like you have that choice today to start to shift things. And it doesn't mean you're going to make a 180 shift today, but just even that initial of like bringing more awareness to how you're feeling with your workouts, and start really listening. Like if you're at the gym and you're lifting really heavy and you're like, oh, my back's kind of screaming at me, that might be a sign to like, let's at least decrease the weight. I'm all for strength training. I think it's so powerful. We need to stay strong, especially as we're aging, right? But if we push and push and push, then at some point the weakest link, something happens to it. We get an injury, right? So that's where like I get so passionate about this. It's like, okay, no matter what age you are, even if you don't have any aches and pains, I still think the prevention side of like learning so much more about your body is so powerful, because then it can help to prevent things down the road. But what ends up happening is people who are having aches and pains and dysfunction are usually who ends up finding me, and they're like, fix me, kind of thing. But so it's never too late, but it usually means we have to take a break from the stuff that was causing the pain and really kind of beating our body up to really restore it, to then slowly work our way back in. And then lo and behold, when you do get back into, whether it's the strength training, the running, the high intensity workouts, whatever it is, you feel stronger, you feel more connected, if you need to modify something, exactly what to do for your own body. So it's really like you learning the knowledge and then making it what it needs to be for you in your lifestyle.
And listening to your body every morning as to what your body really wants, because some mornings I feel lots of energy and I want to go have a HIIT workout, and some mornings all I want to do is just sit and meditate. I need varies. And it doesn't, I don't know what makes it vary, but it varies every day. So I don't like routines. I don't like getting contrived to having to do something every day, and I like variety in my workouts. So I would I do different things, otherwise I get really bored real easy. So I would do anything from TRX and strength training and body weight in a gym environment or at home to going out and punching a bag.
Yeah, it's good to have variety. Absolutely. I mean, it is. So
right. So that's kind of what I found that works for me. But well, thank you so much. Is there anything else you wanna add so we can wrap it up?
I can't think of anything. If you have any other questions.
What are any upcoming trends in the movement world for 2020?
Oh, trends. I don't know if I've really seen too many for the 2020 year yet. I'm not sure. I'll let you know as all this New Year's stuff starts happening. I've been so focused on mine and getting out the right information.
And I'm super excited about your challenge. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So, right now enrollment's open for my 5-day challenge to rejuvenate your body, where I will be teaching kind of a shortened version of some of my methods that I teach in one of my programs about how to, really connect better with your mind and body. So we'll be teaching some movements, a little bit of like education, and then some also movement and workout practices, as well as I'll be going live each day. And I'm going to really go deeper with the coaching aspect, the mindset pieces, because that's where people have their breakthrough. right? I always talk about, like, I can have two people do the exact same program, exact same movements, but if one really embodies the mindset and the coaching stuff that I talk about, wowzers, they see such an enhanced, result, not only for their body, but for their life. So for me, it's all about, really, it's lifestyle. I don't just teach fitness, sometimes it kind of initially kind of looks like that. But I'm really teaching people how to restore their bodies so that they can get their life back, whether it's you just want to really get up and down the ground with your kids or your grandkids, or you want to be able to maybe get back and jump on the trampoline one day and not be able to not pee your pants, or go run and not have to pee your pants, because so many women, and men need to address their pelvic floor too, but women tend to have more issues with it, right? And so it's a conversation that comes up a lot in my world, and so many women to talk about it with anyone. And I'm happy to, because I've helped so many women to reverse that problem, and so they can get back to the activities and to their life where, before there's things that are they're just not where they want to be. And so many women in particular are told like that's just the new normal after having babies as you're getting older and aging and things like that. And I am here to really challenge that. So
I love it. I love what you're doing, and I like following you online. So people can connect with you on...
Yeah, my website, ericaziel.com, and Instagram at Erica Ziel, or Facebook, it's Erica Ziel Fitness there. But yeah, and don't hesitate to reach out with any questions. And there is no question that is too silly, or, if you think like, oh, I'm the only one that deals with this, I guarantee you, you're not. So I try to preach that a little bit too, because we get a lot of women in particular that they'll eventually reach out and they're like, well, I don't know if you know what this is, and all these types of things. And I'm like, oh yeah, this is not alone. It's just because it's not publicly talked about. So many things. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Erica. Good luck with the challenge, and all the best to you.
Thank you, Milena.